Hi, this is Ben. I just wanted to introduce the interview I did with Jim Barron, also known as Ron Basejam, who of course is part of Crazy Penis, one of the founding members, along with Chris Todd, and Danny came on board later, and there was Tim and Matt and Mav and various other people involved. But in those early days it was Jim, Chris and Tim in a little sweaty room in Wales somewhere with a bank of equipment they didn't quite know how to use to record a nice hot bath with. I remember being very excited getting it through at Paper Recordings because they'd done some couple of 12 inches and we knew they had promise, and this just fulfilled that promise. So it is, it seems a long time ago. It must be 21 years or something, 20 years, something like that. And we're re-releasing it on Bandcamp this week, June the 3rd, for only $5. So we covered all sorts of topics with him, but do you know what? It was nice to have a trip down memory lane, and I haven't seen Jim for a while, so it was really nice to catch up with him. And just evoke some of those times that we all are familiar with from those days. We were all kind of young and just super into the music, super into going out, and it's interesting just to have a little bit of retrospective on that. So we had a good old natter. I hope you enjoyed the chat, and the album is available on Bandcamp. So we're releasing Nice Hot Bath With just on Bandcamp on the free waiver day, and we are where were you living at the time when you made that?
I think we started it in Nottingham, and then I went back up to North Wales, and we finished it at mine in North Wales. I think we started writing it, and then I had to go back to Wales for work or for training, and we worked separately on each. We had independent ideas, and then I think Toddy came up for quite an extended period. I mean, the memory's relatively hazy, but I think he was he came up for a long time. Was in the spare. We had the studio set up in the spare room. When I say studio,
you see that was going to be my next question. And what was the studio setup?
Oh, mate. Well, I mean, it was lo-fi, to say the least. We spent all our money on getting we had a 300 Akai sampler, which we just threw all our money into getting as much memory as possible, because we were working on an Atari ST, and so there was no way we could record live stuff unless we had the sampler. We were just taking little chunks of little samples, basically, of us playing live. And that was the mainstay. We had a tiny little Mackie mixer, a bass station, a Yamaha CS1X, a Wurlitzer, electric piano, guitars and basses, and that was probably about the size of it. We had very, very little kit.
But did you know how to use it all, or was it a learning curve as you went on?
Toddy was definitely more proficient than me at that point, and. But we could both work the sampler, and the nature of the material is obviously it's quite sample heavy. So
I hadn't noticed. It's the one record that me and Pete talk about. It's like you slightly wake up in the night like, oh my god, I hope we don't get hammered for that one day.
You and me both.
I think that ship has sailed. But there was certainly a time where we like talking like, we have to pull it just because we like can't.
Yeah. At that stage, it was a completely different environment, though, sampling, wasn't it then? It was like, and also, I hadn't really, not there weren't many exponents of it, and to the degree that we were doing it, maybe Fila Brasilia, I mean, Moody Man had kicked off by then as well, but apart from that, I mean, we had to, we were playing a lot of music on top of it, but generally speaking, the scene was set with a loop or two. But
interesting. It's kind of come full circle.
Yeah.
In that, now it's like samples. I mean, no one's going to haul you up for anything. He says, touch wood.
Oh well, you say that, but I mean, I think I think you're more likely to get pulled up now. I mean, we've had a couple of. Well, we did a re-edits 12, me and Toddy, called Hot Bath Edits, and
right.
The second one of them got pulled for a track. But I mean, you're making so little on these things generally. It's like, yeah, they get all the money, but I mean, things like that are just a little bit of profile anyway, aren't they?
Yeah.
And I think back then it really was anything goes, I think.
Yeah.
And we were sort of going down. We were car booting. We were going to the pier in Colwyn Bay, which had just a huge room full of records for 25p a go. And that's how me and Toddy started making music, basically, just pilfering those things, finding drum beats, and then starting from there.
Yeah, interesting. And then it's kind of also, it felt like the start of that whole new disco thing. I mean, was it a conscious, because I mean, everything was kind of 4/4 then, and I do think the Crazy Penis stuff stuck out a little bit, and it had this kind of musicality, and it wasn't just I came from an indie background, and when I was playing these kind of things that are basically full loops of a disco record with a kick drum, and then to hear the original, I'm like, oh right, okay. Yeah. And then basically I chucked Alpha Records out, I'm like, okay, there you've got to go. But my point being, the Crazy Penis, there was a kind of a depth to it and an understanding of it that was more. It wasn't that. It was more of a kind of a groove to it. It was more embedded in the track. And I guess was that a conscious decision? My point being, it kind of helped kickstart new disco.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's hard to quantify now, but I think it was a lot of the tunes we were sampling were disco records. A lot of the music we were listening to was disco and soul, and there were so many juicy little bits as starting points. I think it all meshed together. It was responsible for the sound. It was sort of like it wasn't one thing on its own, but we were enjoying the same music, and coming back with these gems from the pier and from Car Boots that were just sort of ignited something. It was definitely what we wanted to attain to. Should we ever be in a proper studio, where you can actually record stuff, and we were like a cut price version of that, I think, at the beginning, which was sort of like we'll nick a bit of what's been done in a nice studio, and then we'll add to it. But I think the aspect of it and adding to it was essential to try and make it our own as much as possible. I think we always tried to do that, even if we were using big chunks. Everything. We added to everything. So it was very much it was the fundamentals, the samples, and then I think the music was sort of intrinsic to that as well.
Did you consciously want to take it live? Because I mean, you kind of. Again, at the time, I mean, no one was really doing it live, and you were one of the first people to do it. Was it organic, or was it like, we want to be live and we want to be on the road, and that's kind of where we want to take it?
Do you know what my recollection is? You might be able to help with this. I'm sure that you guys, because that first gig we did, which was in that bar, the
cyber bar,
Ice Bar, the Ice Bar. I mean, you couldn't call it that now, could you? But I think the first gig was kind of your idea, in the sense that you had the venue and you were doing these nights. And my recollection is, I think you said to us, look, can you do it live? And I think that was so. The first gig we did, which was me, Toddy, and Tim, Tim Davis, who still plays bass, it was nothing like how it developed. It was like it was a bit of a bank of kit and three sort of useless lads sort of pushing buttons and sort of legging from bit of kit to bit of kit.
Well, I'll be able to help you that with Jim, because I think we've got the recording somewhere.
Are you serious?
Yeah, seriously. I'm sure, did I not send it? I'm sure we've got it.
No, you sent me one from Night and Day.
Right. I think we've got Maybe we have, maybe we haven't. I don't know.
I mean, that would be interesting to listen to.
I'll have a route around. But I know at the time we were like, that was really good, and you all came back going, yeah, shit, that.
Well, I think that was it was really valuable, that was, because I think that what that helped us decide on was how to take it forward from there to do it live, and that what happened there, whilst it was dead enjoyable, it wasn't working, and because of the nature of the music, it seemed more appropriate to get a beat combo together. You get a band together and do it that way, and replace a lot of the samples with playing.
That's the other thing to it. I mean, the gear was different. Like now, you know, you're whacking up on an Ableton controller, or it's just easy. Whereas then, it's not to stick that sample kind of bass stuff live was no mean feat, really.
Yeah, well, I think I'm sure we took the Atari. We were operating it all off the Atari ST, which, in a gig situation, it's fucking scary. You know, it's really, really scary. But I seem to remember it going off without a real hitch. But it was tough. It was tough to make it happen, or to make it, to do a proper live set. But I mean, somehow we did it. I mean, I can't quite remember how we made that work, the sequencing and whatnot, but we did. But yeah, after that, it was just like, right, okay, let's try and make it more live.
So yeah, just cracking on from where we were. So I think we were talking about the whole taking things live after that first gig, and whether the live aspect kind of changed. Tried to do it live, change the sound of the band going forward, I suppose.
I think it is a combination of that, and also the combination of changing our recording format, because obviously we switched to PC, and then you're away. Suddenly we've got we can record as much audio as we want.
From samplers, you're saying?
Yeah, from samplers. And suddenly we've got as much audio as we want, and we can do, we can actually then at that point try and recreate what we've been sort of using with samples, and so I think a combination of those two things sort of threw us more towards that sort of the live sound and the band sound.
And how do you regard the album now? Have you listened to it lately?
No, I haven't listened to it for a long time, but I mean, you hear bits now and again, and I've got very, very fond memories of it, that period.
That's going to be another question. How do you recollect that kind of period of time? Because it's interesting. At the time, you don't realise quite what little moment it was. Looking back, you're like, oh wow, that was properly kind of. It won't happen again, really. Yeah,
it's hard to connect with that sort of thing. But it was such a good. I mean, we were really footloose and fancy free, and not under any pressure. And we had, the sessions that we did at my house were, they were just great fun. Sort of, stabilised by, a huge block of hash. And, there was a quality bakery literally 100 yards down the road. And we just, for weeks, we just lived on meat and potato pies and lemon buns. And got stuck into it.
Oh, living the dream.
Oh, and it was just great. And then we'd finish of an evening, and then we'd go downstairs where I had the deck set up in the lounge, and we'd play records all night. And then, back in the following morning to carry on. And it was, although my recollection is slightly, it's a little bit hazy, but I can remember how fun those sessions were. How good that period was. It was great.
And what was the gap between that and the Wickedest music? 2 to 3 years, maybe?
I think it was, 3 or 4 years.
And I guess that changed with Danny coming on board. And so did you all move to Manchester?
Yeah. So we've been in North Wales. Toddy was in Nottingham. Toddy stayed in Nottingham. He's always been in Nottingham. And when we'd come up to Manchester to play for you guys, we made friends, and I think it was we wanted to get out of Wales, and it was a good spot, that. So we traipsed up there, met Danielle, socially, and Toddy would come up. I go down to Nottingham, he'd come up to Manchester. We just kept on working that way, basically. We generate ideas on our own, and then we meet up and sort of get the best of those and work them up together.
And would you say was there a moment when you kind of thought, you realised that the album had kind of broken through a little bit? I mean, it's interesting, I kind of look back on some press and stuff, and there actually wasn't that much, and it was all came for the next album, but it certainly made a massive impression. Yeah, it really kind of, like almost a word of mouth thing, and it kind of became a much loved album, almost with no, I mean, you put these things out into the world and wait and see what's happened, basically.
It didn't feel like we made much of an impression, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But it was. I knew that we were happy with it, and we were going to carry on, and it was. I think, look, it didn't feel massively important, or sort of that it was going to be. That I'd be looking back on it in 20 odd years, that's for sure, and talking about it. But I mean, it is fondly remembered, and it's got a lot of character. The album, it's like it's a fun record, and there's humour all the way through it, and it's a good marker for that period of where we were at, I think.
And what's for the Bear Suits? Talking about the humour in it.
That was. I'm not quite sure how that idea manifested itself, apart from Simon King, who was the photographer. It could have been his idea, or my recollection is it might have been Elliot Eastwick's idea, the Bear Suits. But I mean, we were wet behind the ears.
Here you go, lads. Put Bear Suits on. Yeah, right.
Yeah, honestly, that's basically what it was.
Now take your clothes off. Let's get some shots just for us and your girlfriends.
Yeah, no, thank God, no, those never came out. But, I think we were. Elliot was very sort of driven creatively, and I think he got wind of the fact pretty quickly that we'd do anything that we were told. And I think he was definitely pertinent in actually going with Crazy Penis, because we were originally Loco Pinga. I had a conversation with him because obviously Eric Rugg was on the label, and he was saying, just imagine, Dirty Jesus versus Crazy Penis. We should definitely go with Crazy Penis. And me, Tony went, yeah, all right, yeah. Without so much of a forecourt. Where we'd be in a few years' time, stuck in a room in this airport in San Francisco, being questioned heavily about your band name. I mean, it was, we didn't think it through. But,
there you go. The benefit of hindsight, Jim.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a wonderful thing.
I've got some questions from the floor here. Rich Hall. Firstly, thank you for blessing the world with so much great music. You've been a huge influence in me and my productions. What I want to know is, what are your go-to bits of studio gear for your productions, and what is the newest addition to the studio that's getting the most use?
Oh, that's a good one. Go-to, I think it's got to be the 106, Juno 106. I mean, we've got a fairly good palette in there now, but and everything sounds different. But the 106 is probably the most versatile. So I mean, you can get a quality bass sound, you can get a quality poly sound, and with not much fuss. It's quite easy to program. So I'd probably say that. In terms of new bits of kit, we've just had the Prologue, which is their big new polysynth thing, and the Odyssey. And they're both getting loads of use. Again, really different sound to what we've had previously. The Odyssey particularly is great. It's got no presets, so it's like, which we love. So, take a photo of the setting once you've found your sound, and again, you've got a Moog for you, Joe. You had a Moog.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got one of those as well, and you think, I don't need anything else for bass or lead sounds. The Moog's got it covered, but the Odyssey has showed us that actually it hasn't quite got it all covered, and it has a sound of its own, and it's relatively inexpensive as well. So I mean, I'd say the Odyssey is definitely the new bit of kit which is floating our boat.
Okay. And then Chris Massey, seeing as there are so many artists that are now influenced by Crazy P, who would you say were your influences on the early albums, and is there anyone currently who you would say has influenced your more up-to-date work?
Yes, I mean, in terms of modern acts or stuff I'm listening to at the moment, I think as you get older, your tastes change, don't they? And I think my tastes become a lot broader. So I take stuff from all over the place, you know, and it's and I think you can probably hear that in the Crazy P albums as we've gone on. We've spread out musically a little bit more. But is there anybody specific who would be, you know, I mean, back in the day, you know, I think I mentioned yesterday, Fila Brasilia, huge influence, because they were doing the same as us, just slightly before us. That sort of, you know, adding music to samples, big samples, adding music to them, and making something different. So they were right up there. And, you know, Moody Man had kicked off as well. And again, that sort of cut and paste. You know, I think the way he does it, it's like, it does make it an art form, because he's got, you know, his ear is quite unique, I think.
But also, I think interesting, I bet he still just bangs out on an MPC. You know,
He does.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you get drawn into this screens and software, and you listen to it, you're like, I bet he's got hundreds of tracks, and he like just jams it all out onto the next one, which is really interesting. Yeah, it's like that. It's all done by feel rather than visual.
Absolutely, but you have to have the ear to put it together and make it cohesive. And what he did, which I really, really loved, was he used sort of you know, as a musician, he put things together you wouldn't ordinarily think would work, and sometimes you'd listen to it, you know, with his string sounds, you know, it's slightly out of key, that, but it works in the context of everything else that's going on, and again, completely unique. So back in the day, I'd say those two acts. Now, I mean, it's who have been listening to a lot of. I mean, on lockdown, I've been listening to more music than I've had the chance to in recent times. So I've been going through my record collection again and just sort of playing a lot of music at home. But I've been getting into sort of, I mean, I don't know if this is a direct influence or not, but I mean, sort of 60s sort of depressive folk and sort of folk style stuff, you know, Crosby, Stills and Nash and that sort of thing, which I just absolutely adore. And it's been an influence on what other projects I've been doing, but not really on the Crazy P stuff. But I mean, there's so much new music out there dance-wise, it's hard to kind of pick one.
Well, going back to maybe what we were talking about earlier, is that whole Moloko thing, and I could never talk about it's luck whether, you know, things happen for you, and I could never work out why Moloko. Well, I know exactly why, because Moloko had the breakthrough remix single.
Yeah.
I mean, for my book, Crazy P knocked spots off Moloko. I mean, I went to see. I've seen Rashid Murphy a few times, and yeah, it's never quite done it for me like Crazy P, like live. I mean,
yeah, well, that's kind of. But I mean, we took on a lot of our. We did their final. When they toured Statues in 2003, we ended up on a touring festival, and that was those are the last shows they ever did of that tour, and it was a huge learning thing for us. I think that they were quite artsy, weren't they, and quite sort of I don't know if precious is the right word, but I could see why people wouldn't be into them, because they weren't quite as straight ahead as you might think. But Eddie Stevens, who was the musical director of that show, is one of my absolute heroes, and what he did to translate the music from the recording into the live arena. And we watched it. I mean, I think we did quite a few gigs on that tour, and I watched that show every night, and I didn't get sick of it. And it's, you know, Eddie's definitely a big influence. you know, and I think for all of us as well, not just for me, for Chris as well, just his attention to detail and the way that he uses technology in the live show and stuff like that. He's a top man. But
Charlie Feig. Now I'm going to pronounce this wrong. Carney or Tisno. Will you pass on my thanks for fabulous Croatian memories and the brilliant music?
Oh.
So what was that?
Carney, yeah, it was the original garden festival site.
Right.
Yeah, which was in those early years. It was complete. I mean, there was only probably about 500 people, but it was it was a pretty special place. That.
And finally, Nick Chozos. I would ask, is there a chance you'll introduce any nice hot bath tracks in your live sets?
Do you know what? No. No. You know what? The thing is, though, we did try. I tell you what, the last time we did wasn't that long ago. We did like this little version of Do It Good, and it was, when I say it wasn't that long ago, it was a few years ago, and it didn't stay very long. I mean, the thing is, we get quite a lot of turnaround in the band, but very much Miss Moore is very much the focal point. And once we had other sort of instrumentals that come along like Heartbreaker, which you have to kind of do, nobody wants Danny off stage for too long. So, and she's never really attacked. We never really looked back and thought, right, let's rework this for the band or for Danny to sing on. We've never really thought of doing that. I think that record, it's hard to. It'd be hard to translate that, I think, in some ways, because of its sample-based nature and the sort of the editing nature of it. I don't know. It doesn't seem like it doesn't scream out for something that we should rework, but maybe we should have a look at it.
And then, that's about it, Jim. There's 2 years' time, the Wickedest Music 20-year anniversary.
Mental.